My boyfriend and I stayed in an apartment that was owned by the woman living upstairs, who spent the first 10 minutes of our visit bragging about how she was a single mom taking care of 3 kids and was still able to make money off of the Airbnb. My boyfriend, tired and jet-lagged from the long trip, mostly just nodded along, and as soon as she left, we hopped into bed for the night. I was awoken early in the morning to the feeling of something tugging on our blankets and assumed that an animal had gotten in or something. When I opened my eyes, the owner's son was making his way onto the blanket to try to crawl into bed with us. He was maybe 7 years old, and at first I had no idea who he was. I was so shocked I didn't move, just went, hello. His mother came downstairs, and her explanation was something like, "Oh yeah, he does that sometimes." It turns out that when she wasn't renting the lower apartment to tenants, this woman just gave her kids free reign of the lower apartment whenever they wanted. This still didn't explain how he got into the apartment, which was locked at the time, or why he was crawling into bed with us. A few years ago, I stayed at an Airbnb the night before my best friend's wedding. The stay was a gift from one of her family friends who owned it. During the night, I had the worst nightmare that all of us, bride and bridesmaids, were stuck in the Airbnb while a strange man terrorized us and burned the house down with all of us inside. When I woke up, I was terrified and couldn't shake the feeling that there was negative energy in the house. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, one of the other bridesmaids mentioned that she had a nightmare that we were all murdered in the house, and also felt this crazy, scary energy in the house that kept her up the rest of the night. I'm a pretty skeptical person, but I haven't been able to stay at an Airbnb since. We stayed in the basement of a woman's house near Vancouver while she was home. We're from the UK and had been traveling for 16 hours, so we were exhausted because it felt like 5 a.m. to us. The basement was flooded, and she stayed downstairs talking to us for ages while we were all just desperate to go to sleep. She was then up for hours in the middle of the night playing loud music and walking around in loud shoes, heels, I assume. We left at around 7 a.m. Vancouver time and didn't want to disturb her, so we packed up and left without making too much noise. She sent my dad numerous angry emails complaining that we didn't say goodbye before we left. I booked a place in Austin, and the pictures looked great and it had great reviews. It was a shady neighborhood, and the apartment was terrible. The sheets were stained and looked dirty, and the master bath also looked dirty. The other 2 rooms were good, but the bathroom had a huge hole in the shower wall. Like, underneath the shower head. We were supposed to have cable and internet, but we had neither. I contacted the owner, which turned out to be a company based in California. They were responsive at first, and I contacted them again because there were roaches. They ghosted me. I took some pictures and got a partial refund, but I haven't used Airbnb since then because they told me I didn't go about it correctly to get a full refund.